What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, you guys know for the longest time, I here on the Video Game Fight School channel, I usually try to make sure that I gather what I think is very contextual to a lot of different issues around the gaming scene. And I think it's because, or it comes from a place where I'm not really a big fan of surprises. So let's do this. Let's do an exercise in avoiding surprises. And let's pretty much see if perhaps a lot of the gaming community don't necessarily pay attention until the big headline splash actually hits the front pages. And many of you already know from the title of this video what I'm talking about is Warner Brothers pretty much going live service for a lot of their titles and a lot of their games. Now, keep in mind that this is not something new. I'll read this article from DSO Gaming, and then I'll show you the date that this article was written. When I show you this, I'm certain you'd probably maybe have the aha moment, or some of you, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know the song and dance. Title of the article written by John Papadopoulos says, Warner Brothers follows Ubisoft's example, will move everything to games as a service. In an interview with GamesBeat, David Haddad, the president of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, revealed that the publisher plans to move everything to games as a service. This is the second publisher that invests as much to GaaS as possible, with Ubisoft already doing this with pretty much all their franchises. Haddad told GameBeat, but more than ever, the tech stack, whether it's for publishing or BI or marketing, that you build and serve these games on, as we increasingly move everything to games as a service, the kind of enabling technology you need to keep them hyper-social. To keep them hyper-social, to keep them serving well, to keep them engaged, to keep the innovations, to take the innovations of game makers and deliver them like the Nemesis system. You see a lot of our investment not just in classic development, designers and engineers and artists, but increasingly in the teams that end up serving live games. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that has been in the works for a long time. Now, let me show you the date of the article as promised. This was written in June 20, 2018. Now, I saw a lot of people on Twitter say, oh, I can't believe that this is happening. Yo, they've been planning and they've been saying this stuff for a long time. What is the surprise about? In fact, the surprise is that they actually make games like Hogwarts Legacy. They're working on a Wonder Woman game. They make games like Gotham Knights, which are not live service games. Yes, contrary to what a lot of people were told, Gotham Knights is a not live service game. It's a single player game that you play offline that requires no online element other than when you download your game and you're good to go. You can even mod the game too, for those of you who are not aware. And I know many people, they spit on 30 FPS, but that is based on a machine to, game performance and stability issue. We've seen that. Consoles can't hold the performance, even though they marketed them to be this big, huge stuff. But at the end of the day, you can play 60 FPS of most of your games on PC. And welcome to the world of hardware, by the way. I said this in my last video. We'll talk about that later very soon. But the reality is this. A lot of these companies want to chase the bank. They want to chase the bag. They want to chase the money. And ladies and gentlemen, let me kind of say what's going on here. It's our fault, the gamer's fault. Or it's just the fact that we are not necessarily as resolved or resolute as we seem to make it out to be. And what I mean by that is, you'll see a lot of gamers, right? They'll come on the internet and they'll say, we hate live service games. GaaS is trash. But then when a live service game, shows up, right? Or when a live service game basically comes in and, maybe starts to crush records, the hive mind eventually kind of kicks in, and those who have been heavily critical about the one thing that they say they're critical about, they usually will either go quiet, they will reduce the tone of their voice, their volume will go down, or they will join the charade and then start celebrating Helldivers 2 selling 4 million copies, and then they're going to tell me that Helldivers 2 is a different game though, but it's better and it's done right. You can't have your cake. You can't even be eating it and at the same time trying to also bake another cake and get your neighbor's cake too. It doesn't work like that. Right? So the resolve I see with the gaming community that yells the most against live service games is not strong enough. You guys are not committing to it. You're just talking, but you're then spending money because no one's watching you when you actually pull your credit card out. No one's there. But on Twitter, your post, everybody sees it. So you can just basically vent all you want. But then you bought Helldivers and you played it and you acted like it's actually a good thing, which it is. And the reality is some live service games can be good, right? But then Suicide Squad gets the treatment of, oh, well, the game is not even that good. Well, what do you want then? I mean, what do you want? Do you want good live service games or good games as a service? Or do you want no games as a service? Or do you want only single player games? And I always tell every gamer to make up their mind and decide with their wallet and stick to their guns so that they're not flaking everywhere and these companies continue to see the success and say, yeah, you see? Because they will treat one game like trash and then they'll treat another game like gold. That's basically how it goes with this whole live service thing. So guess what? The studios, the developers, the publishers, they will continue to push and prod and try and do all kinds of things until they can land that one, game, just like Helldivers 2. So what's Sony going to do now? They're going to go back and go, yo, let's go and, reassess these other live service games that we were talking about or the ones that we already have. Marathon is going to show up. I know people said Marathon did not hit with, the game testers and all that stuff, but they're just going to modify it to, hit the research group in a positive light. That's what they're going to do. Some people were saying, oh, they canceled Factions. I think Factions was canceled because of lack of money. I don't think it was canceled because the studio went ahead and said, oh, we don't want to support a live service game. I think it was because of finances they canceled that game. They spent a bunch of money and Bungie showed up and said they're not ready to go out to the market. And it seemed like they looked at it and it's from a financial perspective, they were like, let's just everybody cut our losses, because it's not easy to transform a single player studio into a multiplayer live service studio in a short period of time. It's something that you do over time and you more than likely will increase your numbers significantly. I'm talking somewhere from 1 to 1.5x to be able to make that kind of support happen, or there has to have been that kind of hiring in place all the while. So like Respawn compared to Naughty Dog, similar size, but Respawn has the DNA to do live service and single player, something that is within their hiring and their mandates. Naughty Dog, on the other hand, they've been very heavy on single player games, so it doesn't seem like they're able to basically take that approach for the most part without having to make significant changes. So at the end of the day, this is a thing that's going to happen. But again, these companies are not stupid enough. They still see the occasional, single player game that's going to get stuff done, right? That's going to basically be out there moving needles and bringing in sales and all of that. But they want that perpetual money maker. That is a one-time big investment and is going to continue to draw a paycheck and draw funds from players for a long time. Now, you as a player, you get to decide if you're gonna let that be a reality or not. Because from what it seems like y'all are supporting it. Yee. I mean, most of you are. I'm not saying all of you aren't, but you're buying Helldivers. What do you want Warner Brothers to do? They want to take that Helldivers money from you because you said for democracy, right? It is what it is. Gamers, we need to hold ourselves to a different, level of accountability, and also put some things on ourselves whenever we see them going on, because the market responds to the behavior of the consumer. It is just what it is. Don't worry, don't make single player games. They just said, oh, we're moving, to a more live service direction. They're just talking out of both sides of their mouth. They know that there's a heavy single player base out there, but they're going to be very careful how they pick and curate those single player games. They're not going to take any risks anymore. That's basically what they're saying. Why would they take any risk when you would end up basically trashing the game, calling the game a live service game when it's not a live service game, and then going to go buy Helldivers, a live service game, because of all the mixed signals out there? It's a conversation worth having all the while, and, for the most part. And so it's very interesting. But we'll talk in another video. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Peace out.